Let's talk about breastfeeding and a little bit of burping. Yes, let's talk about it. I am a huge breastfeeding advocate. I think it's awesome. I have had extreme success with breastfeeding, which most women struggle. I feel very blessed. So I just kind of wanted to talk about that and give you little tips that have helped me. I am in no way a lactation consultant or a specialist. I am just an average woman with a 11-week-old son that has had nothing but a great experience, and I want you to have a great experience. So here are my little fun facts, and here we go. So first of all, I always knew I wanted to breastfeed since, I guess, probably since I was about 11. My mom had a baby when I was 11. And she breastfed her, and I've always I just think that the whole thing is beautiful, and it's free. So when I became pregnant, I started going to breastfeeding support groups and lactation groups, and just immersing myself in that culture and lifestyle as much as I could. I was looking to make mom friends and kind of enter that community, but also, unfortunately, in our society, breastfeeding isn't completely normalized yet. So I wanted to be in a place that it was. I think you learn a lot just from seeing something done repetitively. If you handed somebody a baby and a bottle, everyone would know how to give a baby a bottle. You know why? Because everybody's seen somebody give a baby a bottle. Not everybody's seen somebody breastfeed. So being around that and seeing just the comfort amongst women being able to do that, or the discomfort, was really important to me. Also being around lactation encourages lactation within yourself. So I wanted to, ensure that I had a good milk supply, and I thought, what better way to do it than that? So that was a lot of perks, because of course, obviously, also I wanted the knowledge and be able to ask a million questions of somebody that is an expert and has read all the best books and la-di-da, all that. So that's something that I would encourage you to do if you're pregnant and if you're already breastfeeding and struggling or not struggling. Those classes are there for a reason. Find your local Le Leche League. There's also other ones that aren't Le Leche that are great. A lot of hospitals do them. If you have a WIC office, they will point you towards a specialized lactation consultant if you want just one-on-one and not the group setting. So reach out. There are resources there, and they're there for a reason, and use them. So I'm kind of going to talk about like newborn breastfeeding, regular breastfeeding, and then breastfeeding in public and burping, just to kind of section it off. And also, I just want to acknowledge that breastfeeding is not for everyone. I'm not here to judge you if you don't breastfeed. It's a personal choice, and just do what works for you and your baby. You and your baby being healthy and comfortable is what's most important. There were a couple things that I didn't learn or know about until I was holding my baby, and I had my doula and my midwife there that were filling me with knowledge, which really helped me. So a couple things that will always stick with me is, so colostrum is what you first get in before you get your full milk supply. Your full milk supply isn't supposed to come in for the first 4 to 6 days. Okay, it can take that long, and that's okay. So until then, your baby is learning how to latch and getting colostrum. Colostrum is liquid gold. You need very little to get a lot of nutrients. Also, your baby's stomach when it's born is about the size of a cherry pit, which needs not a lot to satisfy it. Learning how to latch with your baby, because that's the first thing you and your baby ever do together, besides, your baby in this realm, is you learn how to latch together. And that's so neat. It can be hard though, it can be stressful. So if you're having a hard time with your latch, then make that a separate skill that you learn, and express colostrum onto a spoon and just feed it to your baby. Separate things. Getting the colostrum into the baby's system, learning how to latch. You do not have to make them one, because that is very stressful. That helped me a ton. And like I said, I've had nothing but a good experience, but still, just being able to be like, oh, I don't have to do those together. As long as I express onto the spoon, get all of that into my baby's body, there's no rush for this latch. We can be doing this shit all night long. No stress. Now, expressing your colostrum. I think, like when I went to go first help my baby, you know, you kind of squeeze to help get it going. I naturally just squeeze this way or this way. I think it's like inbred in us, like hamburger, hot dog. Well, actually, the way that your tear ducts, the way that your milk ducts are inside of your areola are like an orange. So if your milk ducts are like slices of an orange, then you want to come at squeezing them from diagonal angles out, not like this, right? Like this, like this. And the way that you do it is you actually start at the tip and pull back and then squeeze out. You squeeze pretty fucking hard. So you start at the tip, pull back, and bring it down. So remember, that can be done and just put onto a spoon and fed right to your baby. Breastfeeding in general, just looking for a good latch in your baby, the muscle movements that should be happening in your baby's cheek. I have some footage actually that's not from today that I'm just gonna kind of splice in here. So you'll be seeing that now. As your baby feeds, you can look for some indicators that breastfeeding is going well. First of all, his latch, you know, it's a nice open mouth all the way around my nipple and a little bit of my areola. You can even see a little bit of milk sometimes, not so much right now. And then you can also see his cheeks going, cheeks, cheeks, cheeks. And every once in a while you can see him gulp. And that's how you know he's getting enough milk. I also think it's important to keep him alert while he's feeding, unless it's the middle of the night. So I'll like tickle his toes or pat his little back or his little diaper to make sure that he is continually getting or continually sucking and not forgetting what he's doing. So my nipple on my left side is pretty downward facing. So when I'm sitting up like this, he can actually be laying as he is laying on his back, because my nipple's in his mouth and his whole body's still in a line. So his neck's not turned, making it hard for him to swallow. Now, if I start to lean back, see how his head turns? That means I now have to turn the rest of his body so it's all in alignment. The importance of burping. Let's talk about that. So everyone talks about nursing, you're latching, all these things that are pretty run of the mill, right? You know what people don't talk a lot about? Burping your baby, which ended up with me and my baby in the ER during a fucking pandemic because I wasn't burping my baby good enough. So not all babies are prone to having reflux, but either way, nursing or feeding, giving them a bottle will create air bubbles within their little tiny body, right? And their body is tiny, so it's really important that you assist them in getting them out. Now, I was burping my baby, I just wasn't burping my baby enough. And because my baby was prone to reflux, it was really bothering him and it was causing him a lot of pain. So, some babies are naturally good burpers. It's a talent that comes to them. I don't know where they learn it. What the fuck ever. You need to get to know that about your baby. When your baby comes off the boob, do they naturally just burp or do they need a little assistance? Some babies need to burp once. Some babies need to burp twice. Some babies need to burp 3 times. Also, not only is it gas this way, but sometimes they're just gonna start farting like crazy. Either way, that needs to get out of their body. So burping them, the most classic way of doing it, here's our good friend Sloth, right, is you make sure that they can breathe over your shoulder so that their nose and their mouth is over your shoulder, and then you hit them pretty fucking hard. When like I was showing my mom, like reminding her, because you know it's been a long time she's had a baby, I was like, nope, harder, harder, harder. Like it goes against what you think your baby can take. But if your baby's not crying, then they're not in pain. So you're like, you're burping your baby, and make sure that you're hitting their upper back, right about here, not down here, not their cute little butt area. You can do that later. If we're burping a baby, we got business to do. Their little cheeks will shake. I mean, it seems like you're doing it too hard, but you're not. You are helping your baby move those air bubbles out of their body. Some people also will do it like with a newborn. You can do this with anything older than like a couple months. Once their neck starts working, this isn't as good. But you can kind of create the same shape that you do for holding their head for breastfeeding and do it on their chin area right here, and it will go up to their little ears, and you lean them over and you burp them right here. That's another way of doing it. Either way, just help them burp. Okay, one other little thing I want to mention. Everyone says that if you have a good latch, that nursing won't hurt. And I call bullshit on that because I now have an 11-week-old son, and I would say just like a week ago or something, it stopped hurting when I first put him on. So given it does not hurt the entirety of the feeding, but when you're first nursing, actually, when you're very first nursing, it doesn't hurt that bad. But a couple weeks in, until quite a while, it fucking hurts because it's sore, because there's someone sucking food out of your nipple. And I've got a pretty high tolerance for pain, but there was like at least 6 to 7 weeks there that it was excruciating when he first went on my nipple for every feeding. And it only hurt for like 60 to 90 seconds, but it still fucking hurt. And I had a good latch. So just be aware that, it's a beautiful thing, but it's, your body gets a little worn from it. So the one thing I can definitely recommend is having a good nipple butter. I just put this on religiously right before, right after, always. And find one that you don't have to worry about washing your nipple before you put your nipple in your baby's mouth, because that's just one thing you don't want to have to worry about. I think almost all of them are natural and organic now, but Earth Mama, they have great products. I also use this now when I have dry, cracked hands. I'm wearing it right now on my lips. It's just an awesome product, but something natural. And if you don't want to buy something, at least use like coconut oil or something, because they are going to get chapped. Some women bleed. There are horror stories, okay? Just try to avoid it as much as you can. And also, then once you stick it out, I have calluses on my nipples. That shit's like hard as rock. It couldn't hurt now. So eventually the pain goes away, but it's there. Breastfeeding in public. So for me, if you haven't gotten the idea yet, I love breastfeeding. I have no problem doing it in public. In fact, I look forward to somebody talking some shit to me so that I can just educate them and be a bitch to them, kind of thing. Because here's the deal. You have the right to feed your fucking baby anywhere at any time that you want without anyone saying boo about it. Our society is not quite as evolved thinking as that yet. We've come a long way. It's doing better, but some people will say shit to you. Also, if you just might feel uncomfortable feeling that exposed in public. So a couple things you might want to consider if you're going to breastfeed in public. First of all, what you're wearing. Either invest in nursing clothes, or like the outfit I'm wearing right now is perfect. I could pull a boob out, and if I was feeling a little exposed, I could just take this and cover up, right? So just think about your clothing. Either way, you don't want to be wearing a dress that you have to fucking, lift your whole dress up or whatever. So just be aware of how the mechanics of that is going to work. Also, like I showed in the earlier, like for my left breast, my nipple is super low. So if I was feeding my baby in public and he popped off here, it wouldn't be nearly as out in the open as it would on this side. Although if I wanted to be extra careful, I would actually do the football hold on my baby instead. So I would take my little cradle here, right, and put it on his neck. And this part of my arm would be supporting his body, and we would hold him like a football. And then I would just lower my nipple into his mouth. And if he came off, my nipple's not completely outwards, it's pointed downwards. So another thing to just think about. Also, you might want to have something that you will say in response to any asshole that might say something to you so that you're not completely blindsided. I would say, fuck you. You might not want to say that. You might want to say something like, oh, excuse me, I actually have the right to feed my child, or something clever and not nearly as snarky, but just something prepared in the back of your mind so that you're not just dumbfounded. Yeah, so that's my bit on nursing in public. But just remember, you have the right to do it. It's within all 50 states now. You can do it anywhere the fuck you want. I think that that's like just about all my fun facts for nursing, at least that I can remember right now. Thanks for listening. Again, the number one thing you need to do to be successful in nursing is really want to do it. And it's awesome. It's the first thing that you and your baby get to do together. You just get to gaze at your child while they're feeding, and sometimes their eyes are just open and they stare at you, and it can just melt your heart into a puddle on the ground. So enjoy it. And if it's not for you, that's okay too. But I would encourage everyone to at least try it because it is so magical, and your body produces this magical fluid for your baby. And did I mention it's free?